All right, so it's my pleasure to introduce myself. So I'm Nick Phelps, as you've heard every week that you've been joining us for these seminars. But a little bit more about me. I'm a professor in the Department of Fisheries, Wildlife, and Conservation Biology at the University of Minnesota. I've been in that department for about 7 years now, and had spent the 10 prior years in the College of Veterinary Medicine at the U of M. I also direct the Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center, and I'm not going to talk about that specifically here. I'm going to focus more on my research program. But just to give you a sense, our AIS research program has about 40 affiliated faculty, about 25 graduate students, and working on invasive species issues across the state of Minnesota. If you haven't been through Minnesota, I've got a couple things here just to lay the groundwork. We care about two things really. One is hockey. That's what we do when the lakes are frozen, and when they're not frozen, we enjoy the heck out of them. Fishing in the lakes are core to the culture and history of Minnesota. There's more than 10,000 lakes in the state, supporting a 4.3 or so billion-dollar recreational fishery. So the sustainability of our aquatic systems, the fish in particular, are prioritized with state funding and natural resource management. Um, Compared to the sport fishing industry, our aquaculture in the state of Minnesota is relatively small. We have about $10 million so aquaculture industry, dominated largely by bait fish harvest from the wild, with some pond culture and sport fish production for stock enhancement. So we raise a lot of walleyes, harvesting eggs from the wild, growing them up as fry, and then releasing them back into the lakes. We do a variety of other game fish. There's 40 or so different species that are raised here, so big diversity, but not large volumes, at least economically. We have a very small food fish industry with a couple of shrimp farms, some trout, and yellow perch, with some interest growing pretty rapidly for intensive production of walleye in indoor systems. So these aquatic systems that I'm talking about are not just important to the state, but important to me personally. I grew up here in northern Minnesota, and established a research program at the University of Minnesota to study threats to our aquatic systems, both at the macro, like landscape level, and microbial scales in the fields of fish health and aquatic invasive species. Those two things being some of the primary drivers of fisheries sustainability right now in the state, in addition to things like climate change and contaminants. So those are all interconnected. And given that interconnection, our lab uses an ecosystem health approach. We understand that both the problems and the solutions to those problems lie at the intersection of animals, humans, and the environment. Focusing on one of those three things often overlooks important factors that are important to unraveling these complex and interconnected issues. The research that we do is quite broad, but really focused on the applied end of the spectrum, problem oriented. We strive to identify threats, understand the risks, and develop long term evidence based management solutions to balance the needs of all relevant stakeholders. So there's a lot there to unpack. But long story short, we do a lot on a lot of different things. We're really motivated by the problems that need to be solved, especially those that are identified by end users, like natural resource managers, the aquaculture industry, or the public. Just to give you a sense of some of the things we work on, I created this is overwhelming, I know, but this is a word cloud of the titles of the papers that we published in my lab, just to see where we tend to focus. Um, the types of specific projects that we have done recently and are ongoing right now, just to name a few of them, are quantitative risk assessments, pathogen discovery and surveillance, diagnostic development. We do a fair bit with infectious disease ecology and epidemiology. We really enjoy engaging with the public, both through outreach programs, but also through participatory science, citizen science programs where we can get them to be a part of the research in creative way, in fun ways. And an area that I've dabbled in for a while now and still trying to grow is investigating fish kills as an indicator of landscape and environmental change. I think there's a lot of value there to sort of leverage these bad situations to learn and adapt our management going forward. None of this would be possible without the team, though. There's a picture here of most of the current lab group, and then we've got a bunch of lab alums that are out there making a difference in the world, and you can get a sense of them here on the left-hand side of your screen. Um, Isaiah Tolo, Meg McCachran have both presented as part of the summer seminar series in years past, and are both out there doing pretty incredible things right now. And you'll hear just after I'm finished from Laurel Sacco, who's in the picture here. So I'll keep my comments short and drop my email here. If folks have any questions about research projects or ideas, or you want to work on something together, especially students who have curiosities about the upper Midwest and fish health, happy to chat. Don't be shy about sending me an email or reaching out in some other way. So with that, I will got just a quick question or two. I'm happy to take those. If not, we will move right along to Laurel.